Same blue sedan. Third time this week. Driver using binoculars to observe the playground. Rachel Thompson noted in her daily log as she guided another group of elementary students across the intersection, her trained eyes tracking the suspicious vehicle while maintaining the cheerful demeanor that made her Lincoln Elementary's most beloved crossing guard. The car had been parked in different locations around the school zone for 47 minutes over 3 separate days, its occupant displaying surveillance behavior that would be invisible to most observers but was immediately recognizable to someone trained in reconnaissance and threat assessment. Mrs. Rachel, why do you always know exactly where every car is? Asked 7-year-old Emma Martinez as she skipped safely across the crosswalk, unaware that the woman protecting her journey to school was using observation skills developed during 12 years as a Marine Corps Scout sniper. What the children, parents, and school staff didn't know was that the crossing guard, who never missed a detail about traffic patterns, pedestrian safety, or potential security concerns, was Staff Sergeant Rachel Thompson, retired, U.S. Marine Corps Scout sniper, who had spent more than a decade conducting precision reconnaissance and long-range operations before choosing school safety as her way to protect children with the same vigilance and systematic observation that had once kept Marines alive in combat zones. Rachel Thompson, 35 years old, had been working as a morning crossing guard at Lincoln Elementary School in suburban Phoenix, Arizona, for 14 months and 8 days, maintaining the same methodical attention to observation and threat assessment that had characterized her 12-year career as a Marine Corps Scout sniper, conducting reconnaissance and precision operations. Every morning at 7:15 a.m., she arrived wearing the standard crossing guard uniform, carrying traffic safety equipment, and a detailed logbook that contained observations about vehicle patterns, pedestrian behavior, and security considerations that reflected analytical habits developed during years of military surveillance work. The school community and parents knew Rachel as the crossing guard who seemed to anticipate traffic problems before they occurred, who somehow kept every child safe regardless of weather conditions or chaotic morning routines, and who had an uncanny ability to spot potential safety issues that other adults missed completely. She had reduced pedestrian incidents at the Lincoln Elementary intersection by 100% and earned recognition from both the school district and local police for exemplary safety performance. What people didn't notice was Rachel's automatic threat assessment of every vehicle and person in the school zone, the way she tracked movement patterns and behavioral indicators with systematic precision, the way she organized her observations with military efficiency that went far beyond typical crossing guard training. Her approach to child protection was comprehensive and analytically sophisticated in ways that suggested training beyond normal school safety education. Rachel had chosen school crossing guard work specifically because it allowed her to use observation and protective skills to serve children in straightforward, peaceful contexts after 12 years of Marine Corps Scout sniper operations that had required her to conduct surveillance and precision missions in combat zones where observation mistakes could compromise operations and endanger lives. Her Marine Corps career had begun in 2009 when she enlisted immediately after high school, initially planning to serve in communications or administration. But when she scored exceptionally high on marksmanship evaluations and psychological assessments, recruiters had suggested she consider Scout sniper training, one of the Marine Corps' most demanding specialties that combined advanced marksmanship, reconnaissance, and surveillance capabilities. Scout sniper training was among the most selective programs the Marine Corps offered. Nearly 2 years of intensive instruction that included everything from advanced marksmanship to fieldcraft, surveillance techniques, and reconnaissance operations designed for gathering intelligence and providing precision fire support. Rachel had been one of only 3 women to complete Scout sniper training during her cycle, and one of even fewer to serve operational deployments in reconnaissance roles. Rachel's assignments had included reconnaissance missions in Afghanistan, Iraq, and several classified locations where she had conducted surveillance operations, gathered intelligence on enemy positions, and provided precision marksmanship support for Marine infantry units. She had earned recognition for exceptional observation skills and marksmanship accuracy that had contributed to successful operations and protected fellow Marines. Over 3 operational deployments, Rachel had conducted more than 200 reconnaissance missions, earning commendations for surveillance excellence and precision marksmanship. But the psychological pressure of years spent in constant observation mode always assessing threats while maintaining perfect vigilance, had eventually become mentally exhausting. When Rachel completed her military service, she had been offered positions with law enforcement agencies, private security firms, and government contractors that would have used her scout sniper expertise in tactical roles. But after years of high-stress reconnaissance work, Rachel had chosen school safety because it allowed her to use observation and protective skills to help children rather than conduct surveillance for military purposes. Lincoln Elementary School served approximately 450 students in kindergarten through fifth grade, representing diverse family backgrounds in a suburban community where parents valued both educational excellence and child safety. Rachel's crossing guard position was located at the intersection of Maple Street and School Avenue, a busy corner where children from 3 different neighborhoods converged every morning and afternoon. During her 14 months at Lincoln Elementary, Rachel had developed comprehensive knowledge of traffic patterns, pedestrian behavior, and safety considerations that impressed both school administrators and local law enforcement with its accuracy and practical utility for child protection. Rachel, said Principal Janet Morrison during one of their regular safety meetings, "Your incident reports and safety observations are remarkably detailed. You seem to notice things that other crossing guards and even some of our teachers miss." Mrs. Morrison, child safety requires constant attention to details. When you're responsible for protecting children, you have to be aware of everything happening in the environment. What Principal Morrison didn't realize was that Rachel's attention to details was based on reconnaissance techniques she had learned for conducting surveillance operations in hostile environments, systematic observation, pattern recognition, and threat assessment methods that had been developed for military intelligence gathering. The situation that would reveal Rachel's background began in October, when she noticed behavioral patterns that indicated potential security concerns around Lincoln Elementary. A blue sedan had appeared in the school zone multiple times, its occupant conducting what appeared to be surveillance of school routines, staff schedules, and student activities. Rachel's scout sniper training immediately recognized the surveillance behavior as systematic and purposeful rather than coincidental. She began documenting the vehicle's appearances, tracking the occupant's behavior patterns, and analyzing the surveillance techniques being used to gather information about the school. Rachel's analysis revealed that the surveillance was sophisticated and methodical, targeting specific aspects of school operations that could indicate planning for some kind of incident or security breach. The observer was documenting arrival and departure times, staff routines, and security procedures with precision that suggested professional training. Mrs. Morrison, Rachel said during a routine safety meeting, "I've been observing some concerning behavior around the school that might indicate security surveillance." Principal Morrison was impressed by Rachel's systematic approach to the security concern. "Rachel, what kind of behavior are you seeing?" Rachel presented documentation that looked more like military intelligence analysis than typical crossing guard observations, detailed surveillance logs, behavioral pattern charts, and threat assessment data that demonstrated investigative skills beyond normal school safety training. An individual has been conducting systematic observation of our school routines over multiple days, using techniques that suggest professional surveillance training. The pattern indicates information gathering for potential planning purposes. Principal Morrison realized that Rachel's analysis was far more sophisticated than typical safety observations. "Rachel, your documentation is remarkably professional. Do you have experience with security analysis?" Rachel hesitated, the way she always did when people asked about her observation capabilities. "Some experience with surveillance and threat assessment, Mrs. Morrison. I take child protection seriously." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the blue sedan that Rachel had been tracking. She immediately recognized the vehicle and began implementing observation procedures that would provide law enforcement with comprehensive evidence if intervention became necessary. Rachel's surveillance of the suspicious vehicle was systematic and professional, based on techniques she had learned for conducting reconnaissance operations during her Marine Corps service. She tracked the vehicle's positioning, documented the occupant's activities, and gathered intelligence that would allow law enforcement to assess the actual threat level. When the vehicle's occupant began taking photographs of the school playground during recess, Rachel determined that immediate law enforcement intervention was necessary to protect the children under her care. 911, what's your emergency? This is Rachel Thompson. Crossing guard at Lincoln Elementary School. I need to report suspicious surveillance activity by an individual who has been systematically observing our school operations over multiple days. I have comprehensive documentation of the surveillance behavior. Detective Mike Chun was the first officer to respond to Rachel's call. He arrived expecting a routine suspicious person report, but found a crossing guard who had assembled intelligence documentation that impressed him with its thoroughness and professional quality. Ma'am, the surveillance log is exceptional. You've documented behavior patterns and threat indicators that most civilians wouldn't recognize. What kind of security background do you have? Rachel explained her military experience and her reasons for choosing school safety over careers that would more obviously use her scout sniper expertise. Detective Chun, I spent 12 years as a Marine Corps scout sniper conducting reconnaissance and surveillance operations. I retired and chose school safety because I wanted to use observation skills to protect children rather than conduct military surveillance. Detective Chin understood immediately why Rachel's threat assessment had been so comprehensive and professional. Staff Sergeant Thompson, Scout sniper training is among the most demanding surveillance education the military offers. Your expertise could be invaluable for school security assessment. The investigation that Rachel had initiated led to the identification of a registered sex offender who had been conducting surveillance of multiple schools in preparation for potential crimes against children. Rachel's systematic documentation provided law enforcement with evidence that prevented what could have been a serious threat to child safety. Rachel, said Principal Morrison after the successful investigation, your vigilance and professional threat assessment probably prevented a serious incident that could have endangered our students. Rachel's response reflected her commitment to her chosen career path. Mrs. Morrison, I'm a school crossing guard who happens to have experience with surveillance and threat assessment. My focus is on keeping children safe while they're traveling to and from school. But Rachel's expertise had attracted attention from other school districts and law enforcement agencies who were dealing with similar security concerns around educational facilities. 3 months after the surveillance incident, Rachel was approached by the Phoenix School District about developing safety training programs for crossing guards and school safety personnel who needed to recognize and respond to potential security threats. Ms. Thompson, said District Safety Director Patricia Williams, your successful identification of surveillance threat demonstrated that school safety personnel can protect students from sophisticated dangers if they understand what to look for and how to document security concerns effectively. Rachel accepted the consulting position while continuing her work at Lincoln Elementary. The combination allowed her to use her scout sniper expertise to improve school safety throughout the district while maintaining her commitment to protecting the specific children she served every morning and afternoon. Rachel's training programs for school safety personnel emphasize practical observation techniques that enhance child protection without creating fear or disrupting positive educational environments. Her sessions taught crossing guards, teachers, and administrators how to recognize genuine security concerns while maintaining school atmospheres that supported learning and childhood development. The goal, Rachel explained to school safety personnel during one of her training sessions, is developing observational awareness that enhances child protection rather than creating anxiety. Good surveillance skills help you identify real threats while maintaining positive relationships with children and families. Rachel's work with school safety led to additional opportunities that connected her current career with her Marine Corps experience in unexpected ways. 6 months after the Lincoln Elementary investigation, Rachel received a call from the FBI's Crimes Against Children unit asking her to consult on investigations involving predators who were using surveillance techniques to target schools and children. Staff Sergeant Thompson, said FBI Special Agent Jennifer Martinez, your combination of scout sniper surveillance training and practical school safety experience makes you uniquely qualified to help us understand how predators are using reconnaissance techniques to target educational facilities. Rachel agreed to provide consulting services while maintaining her crossing guard responsibilities. Her work helped law enforcement agencies understand how individuals with military or law enforcement training might adapt surveillance techniques for criminal purposes targeting children. The observation principles are similar whether you're conducting military reconnaissance or identifying threats to children, Rachel explained to FBI analysts. The key is understanding behavioral indicators and surveillance patterns that reveal malicious intent rather than innocent activity. A year after the surveillance incident, Rachel had become a recognized expert in school security and was regularly invited to speak at education conferences and law enforcement training events about applying military observation skills to child protection. Her presentation at the National School Safety Conference focused on the principle that had guided her approach to the Lincoln Elementary investigation. Child protection benefits from the same systematic observation used for military reconnaissance, pattern recognition, behavioral analysis, and threat assessment that reveals potential dangers before they become actual incidents. But Rachel's primary focus remained Lincoln Elementary, where she continued protecting children while using her scout sniper background to enhance safety for the entire school community. Mrs. Rachel, said student Emma Martinez during one of their morning crosswalk conversations, "My mom says you used to be in the military, and that's why you're so good at keeping us safe." Emma, "I'm the same crossing guard who helps you get to school safely every morning. The only difference is that now people know I have experience with watching out for danger." Mrs. Rachel, "Will you always be our crossing guard?" Rachel smiled as she guided Emma safely across the intersection. Emma, "As long as you need someone to help you cross the street safely, I'll be here." 2 years after the surveillance investigation, Rachel received recognition from both the Marine Corps Scout Sniper Association and the National Association of Elementary School Principals for developing child protection programs that had improved school safety throughout Arizona. Her story was featured in Marine Corps publications as an example of how military skills could be applied to civilian child protection, inspiring other Scout Sniper veterans to consider careers that use their expertise to protect communities rather than conduct military operations. Today, Rachel Thompson continues working as crossing guard at Lincoln Elementary School while also serving as a recognized expert in school security and child protection. She still arrives every morning at 7:15 a.m., still guides children safely across busy intersections, and still treats child protection as the most important responsibility she has ever undertaken. But she also provides security consulting for school districts, trains safety personnel in threat recognition techniques, and works with law enforcement agencies to identify and prevent crimes against children. The intersection where Rachel protects children displays a small sign that reads, "School Zone, protected by community vigilance." Rachel requested that the recognition honor all adults who work to keep children safe rather than individual achievement. Rachel's story reminds us that military expertise doesn't diminish when applied to child protection, it enhances. That Scout Sniper training can improve school safety just as effectively as it supports military operations. That the same observation skills used for reconnaissance missions can be used to identify and prevent threats against the most vulnerable members of our communities. The next time you see a school crossing guard, remember Rachel Thompson. Remember that they might have surveillance experience gained in situations and environments you can't imagine. Remember that they might have chosen school safety not because they lack other qualifications, but because they found the most meaningful way to apply extraordinary skills, protecting children. Sometimes the most important reconnaissance happens not in combat zones or military operations, but at school intersections where former Scout snipers choose to use their expertise to ensure that children can travel safely between home and education. Sometimes the greatest marksmanship precision belongs to people holding stop signs rather than rifles, people who've chosen to apply military training to child protection, ensuring that the vigilance developed for Marine Corps operations can be used to safeguard the next generation of Americans. We need to recognize and appreciate the skilled observation professionals among us who've chosen to serve quietly, especially those whose previous service required watching for enemies in dangerous places, so that children could walk safely in peaceful neighborhoods. Because true surveillance expertise doesn't disappear when military service ends. It just finds new applications. And sometimes the most valuable reconnaissance training involves not military missions or combat operations, but child protection that ensures the systematic observation developed for Scout sniper work can be used to create safer communities where every child can learn and grow without fear.